Any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It is Friday, thank God. And we are going to air some grievances up in here. I got Evan on the board again today. Welcome back, Evan. Welcome back, everyone. You know, shout out to the good folks in Chicago, the good folks in Minneapolis, of course, the great state of Wisconsin, where I live and I broadcast from, Northern California. Shout out to you, and hell, anywhere in the world on the Devil Radio app. My favorite way, all the true patriots, you listen on the Devil Radio app or your local affiliate, you know. It's all good. But we air the grievances. Hopefully the grievances won't include lack of a tremendous show. We're not mailing it in. I know it's Friday, but yeah, we're working hard here. I've got an author. I did homework last night. I read at least a portion of this fine book, The Joe Biden Way, How to Become a Bold and Empathetic Leader. Empathic leader. Apparently reading aloud, not one of my strong suits. Fortunately, I did it to myself quietly in the chair. Watched a little Badger victory last night, then read a little of the Joe Biden way. So we'll hear about that a little bit later in this hour. Bottom of this hour, the fine author, Jeffrey Krames. Also, U.S. senatorial candidate, Tom Nelson. He is the Outagamie County chairman. That's sort of a purple Fox Valley, part of the great state of Wisconsin. That's up near Green Bay. And so he's got that as a claim to fame. He also claims the progressive mantle. Many of them do, but I think Tom's probably closest to the mark. And Tom's out there running for the U.S. Senate. Obviously, Ron Johnson, within the week, well, he announced he's running. So, you know, sort of flushing out the top tier of the candidates. We've got another one today, Tom Nelson, a fine one. We welcome him back. And you are always welcome here, especially on Fridays when we air the grievances. I'm going to start with mine, but yours could be next. Dial us up, 844-967-2789. So let's start with the political headline. Sen Sinema. Kirsten. I'm done even trying to say her name right. She's evil. She's one of those bastard people. And she's so proud to vote against democracy. I don't know that we played any of this on yesterday. And I don't want to punish you people per se, but she's supposed to be a Democrat. Once upon a time, she was somewhat liberal. At least that was my impression. But she went to the floor of the Senate yesterday, and she had something to say. And we're going to play something that sound. Oh, one other thought. Waukesha, Wisconsin. Shout out to our new affiliates there. WAUK 540 AM and the Shaw 101 FM. Well, we're going to have a Waukesha Alder on this fine show at 4:50 today. Don Brown. You know, but when you're in politics, you got to just in case there's another Brown, it's a common last name. But Don's joining us today on this fine program. And today begins, I believe it's called Jamboree in Waukesha. And normally, you know, I mean, fine festivals all across the great state of Wisconsin. I wouldn't normally celebrate, you know, a small town festival. But Waukesha has kind of had a bad streak of late. Their last festival was the Christmas parade, and it obviously ended tragically. And this is the first time that community is coming together post-Christmas parade for this big Jamboree event. So we're going to have Don Brown on this program. And Don's going to start doing some broadcasting from Waukesha each and every week. In fact, he starts tomorrow morning. So we're going to promote his new show. I believe it's called This Week Waukesha or Waukesha This Week. I forget which order it comes in, but Don comes at 4:50. So saving the best for last. We'll talk about Jamboree. We'll talk about how Waukesha Strong, how that community's holding up. And we'll talk about his new show. The inaugural program, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, WAUK, 540 AM and 101 FM, The Shaw. Well, let's talk about that evil woman, Kirsten something Sinema. She gave a speech, and this one really galled me. And I hated everything about it because it was factually inaccurate. I didn't like her smug tone. I didn't like what she was saying. And, ultimately, she takes this strange ground. Oh, I'm all down for voting rights, but I'm against the means to achieving voting rights. I will scuttle the Biden agenda, and I'll be proud to do so. I mean, Joe Biden was supposed to go up the hill yesterday, right? Have a little bruncheon with the Democratic Senate caucus. And Kirsten Sinema decided she's going to get out in front of her president. She's going to go give him a big middle finger. And here's what she said. Here's the middle finger. Here's the Friday grievance. Because, Sinema stuck a knife in Joe Biden's back yesterday. So I want you all to know, all you good Democrats, all you lefties and righties, I want you to know what it is she said, how she defended herself, how she framed this argument. Because I think history is going to remember as democracy starts getting crushed by these fascistic Republicans, that she's one that didn't speak out, or what she said didn't make any damn sense. Let's play for the people. Evan needs your help. Senator Kirsten Sinema from Arizona, cut 10.
What is the legislative filibuster other than a tool that requires new federal policy to be broadly supported by senators representing a broader cross-section of Americans? A guardrail.
A guardrail. Cut 11.
These bills help treat the symptoms of the disease, but they do not fully address the disease itself. And while I continue to support these bills, I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country.
Why did she not let the federal government default on its debt last month? Because we did a carve out on the filibuster last month. It was just weeks ago. And I believe you were complicit in that action, Sinema. So how is that different in any way, shape, or form? What, it's more important? You're down for voting rights, but, they're much less important. Your right to vote, especially minorities, your right to vote, less important than, my debt limit vote a month ago when we set aside the filibuster. More from the senator from Arizona. I don't hold her in any esteem. Eliminating it would make the rift so much deeper. Cut 12.
Demands to eliminate this threshold from whichever party holds the fleeting majority amount to a group of people separated on two sides of a canyon, shouting that solution to their colleagues. And that makes the rift both wider and deeper.
Mitch McConnell had no problem bridging the chasm. He just set it aside for Supreme Court nominees, right? Amy Coney Barrett, she didn't have 60 votes. Republicans have no problem using the means available to them to do whatever they want. The ends justify the means. Well, you want the ends, but you don't have the guts for the means, or somebody's paying you not to, vote with Joe Biden or something. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this woman. More. Cut 13, please.
There's no need for me to restate my longstanding support for the 60-vote threshold to pass legislation. There's no need for me to restate its role protecting our country from wild reversals in federal policy.
10 years ago, I saw this video on MSNBC, not a independent thought I had, but they called her out. They played the video of her with an exactly opposite position in 2010 when Obama was the president. No, she was ready to throw out the filibuster then.
Yeah, talking smack about Lieberman. Yeah, she was mighty upset about it.
Well, I guess she's changed tunes. Cut 14, please. More cinema.
When one party need only negotiate with itself, policy will inextricably be pushed from the middle towards the extremes. And I understand there's some on both sides of the aisle that prefer that outcome, but I do not.
Who on the left prefers that outcome? Really, who's trying to blow it up on the left? Just you and maybe Joe Manchin. You're the only ones blowing it up. The progressives have got along and gone along with the Joe Biden agenda. It's just you and Manchin primarily. 15.
Eliminating the 60 vote threshold on a party line with the thinnest of possible majorities to pass these bills that I support will not guarantee that we prevent demagogues from winning office.
No, but it would be a hell of a good start. If we got time, let's play one more from Senator Sen Sinema, cut 16.
Indeed, some who undermine the principles of democracy have already been elected. Rather, eliminating the 60 vote threshold will simply guarantee that we lose a critical tool that we need to safeguard our democracy from threats in the years to come.
Really, you're somehow upholding the tool, keeping the tool in the tool shed, in the toolbox. The tool you need is a Voting Rights Act. You claim you are supportive of, this compiled John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but you won't actually use the tool in the toolbox. All you got to do is set aside the filibuster once. See if we can help preserve democracy. Maybe it's going okay in Arizona for your outcomes, but in the state of Wisconsin, things are getting kind of bad. And last time I checked, they were doing some cyber ninja audits in Maricopa County. You represent that county. Don't just Sinema, don't just Senator. Come back. Devil's advocates. We air the Friday grievances. Yours could be next. 844-967-2789. I'm not saying she's evil, but she's damn evil.
She's off the reservation, but anybody that knows her understands that.
It's such a nasty
trust
woman.
fund. 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Managing today's uncertainty can be overwhelming. Focus on what you can control, even if it's little things, like your before bedtime ritual.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
60% of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. You made it the weekend. It's almost here. Little snowy here in the upper Midwest. I hear they got more coming in Minnesota than we do here. So be careful out there on the roads, folks. And be prepared. Air the grievances right here. Dial us up. 844-967-2789. Going to the phones in just a moment. Evan, I need you to multitask because before we do, it's not just Sinema, it's also Joe Manchin. He effectively supported his colleague in the fringe of the center, if you will. Joe Manchin, just a couple of brief cuts, starting with 21, if you would, Evan, play the senator from West Virginia.
We need changes to make the Senate work better. Not getting rid of the filibuster.
So he was never a yes either. How about his reaction to Sinema's speech? Cut 22, Joe Manchin.
I think it's the points that I've been making for an awful long time, and she has too.
So he was proud of her. One more, Joe Manchin, cut 23, please.
Well, we definitely need rule changes in the Senate to make the Senate work better.
Maybe like filibuster reform.
Oh, man. Oh.
I know. It's galling, isn't it? One more or two more. The vice president responding this morning, Kamala Harris, if you would, on voting rights. She says, we are committed. I don't know if everyone's committed, but, the president, the VP, they're committed. Cut 50.
We are committed to seeing this through, however long it takes and whatever it takes.
Okay, one more from Kamala Harris, the vice president. Cut 51, please.
I will be continuing with extensive meetings and discussions about how we can see this through.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's what that means. 844-967-2789. Matt, listing on AM 950, I suspect, KTNF. Matt, welcome to the show.
Happy Friday, gentlemen.
Yeah, happy Friday indeed, Matt.
Have you seen the new My Pillow commercial?
What am I missing?
Well, the symbolism behind it. Okay, so you got big Mike Lindell head right there, and then he's got this velvet painting behind him, and it's not smoking dogs playing poker. It's a big Jesus head with the crown of thorns on him, and he's looking down, and then next to big Jesus head, there's big mountain lion head with his teeth wide open, snarling, and Lindell's looking at the camera, and the first thing out of his mouth, he goes, "Cancel culture has affected myself and my pillow." And then he starts selling his pillows for 50% off.
Well, at least he's moving pillows, I hope, man. He did say recently, I thought I just read the headline. I didn't really dig in. But he did say Mike Lindell claims he's got evidence that could send 300 million voters to jail. I think that'd probably include guys like you and I, Matt. Hell, that'd be the entire population of the United States, give or take.
Yeah.
We all committed voter fraud. He's got the receipts. I thought it was creepy enough. He always wore the gold crucifix during the commercials, Mike Lindell. I always thought, if you're a Christian or whatever, man, more power to you. I represent myself as a Christian. I'd like to think I believe in Christ and God and that kind of stuff. But it was always a little weird. But when he has the medicine cabinet, you open the medicine cabinet and he's like on the other side of the wall, there's Mike Lindell, like he lives in your walls. That was always super creepy, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, you guys have a great weekend. Great show.
Thank you, sir. Here in the state of Wisconsin, we've got a special prosecutor, former corrupted Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, and he went out to the cyber summit out in South Dakota with Mike Lindell, and we, the taxpayers, apparently we had to play. We paid. I wonder if they gave souvenir pillows at the big cyber symposium. We're going to get a few more calls, 844-967-2789. While there's time, Kurt from Madison. Welcome back, Kurt. What do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks. As I watch the news and read everything that I can, it always begs the question, who's really to gain by what? Now, if you look at Manchin, he's worth millions. He doesn't need that position, that seat with Virginia. So there's got to be an ulterior motive. And what's her name from Arizona?
Sinema.
She's just Sinema. Thank you. She's just not that bright of a person to be able to construct any message like she did. Someone has their claws in her and has made her promises.
I think it's maybe the opposite.
A lot of money.
I think she thinks she's being a rogue maverick, sort of a mix between Sarah Palin and John McCain, right? And, she's that Arizona senator. She's dying to give the thumbs down. And I think, and I heard another liberal host say this, and I don't want to claim that this is my thought, but somewhere her ego is so large that she thinks she's positioning herself for a presidential run.
Well, that may be, but someone's still whispering in her ears. And my end statement is, I'm convinced the only reason we have rogue agents like this is it's the real control is coming from the oligarchs. You got to start following the money. You got to
Kurt
them to basically blow up democracy.
Well, Kurt, I heard the vast majority of that, and then the oligarchs started blowing up your phone line. I'm going to sneak one more caller in here quick. Rich from Phoenix, how you been, Rich? Happy New Year.
Hello, Happy New Year. I started listening to your program in 2020 in anticipation of attending the Democratic Convention. And I've been involved in the political world on several levels. And I can tell you that I met Kirsten Sinema when she was a member of the Arizona legislature. A few things are consistent in her personality. She thinks she's funny. She thinks she's a smart aleck, and she thinks she's cute. Those are consistent. I also thought she was funny. And a few things about her that are so inconsistent.
Hey, Rich, man, I'm never going to have time for a few more things, but, I think I'm smart, alecky, funny, and cute. At least I got dimples. Come back. We got a fine guest. He is the author, Jeffrey Krames, the book, The Joe Biden Way, How to Become a Bold and Empathic Leader.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Verona to Sun Prairie. Always streaming at DARNWI.com.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Wisconsin. You know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Devil Radio app streaming.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow down 201 points. The White House says a federal testing website launches Wednesday. 4 free tests will be available per home. The website is covidtest.gov. The CDC recommends at-home testing when experiencing symptoms 5 days after a potential exposure. The government says retail sales fell in December.
Product shortages, rising prices, and the arrival of the Omicron variant of COVID-19 prompted Americans to sharply cut their spending last month. The Commerce Department reports retail sales fell a seasonally adjusted 1.9% from November. Restaurant sales slipped 0.8%, while department stores fell 7%, and online sales dropped 8.7%. Still, that followed a burst of spending in the fall that helped bolster the holiday season, and compared with December 2020, last month's retail sales were 16.9% higher. I'm Ben Thomas.
And I'm Ed Donahue.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel.
Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This week, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources announced it will host an online public hearing next month to hear comments on the department's preliminary environmental review of a plan submitted by Enbridge Energy to reroute an oil pipeline in northern Wisconsin. The draft review shows the contested pipeline would cross roughly 185 waterways and temporarily disturb 135 acres of wetlands in Ashland, Bayfield, and Iron counties. Navient, one of the country's largest student loan servicers, will cancel nearly $1.7 billion in private student loan debt and pay close to $100 million in restitution payments for deceptive loan servicing that pushed borrowers into more debt. Roughly 5,000 Wisconsin borrowers will receive relief from the settlement, which Attorney General Josh Kaul assisted in the claims. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Charged, never convicted. The Devil's Advocates.
Not your stepping stone.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Perhaps the booker, and that'd be me, has got his times and dates wrong, but I was expecting a fine author. I've got the book right here, The Joe Biden Way. Hopefully he joins me soon. Jeffrey Krames, expecting him live via Zoom. We've just sent a confirmation for the second or third time, but never say I'm not thorough. But apparently I missed the guess. Where is he? 844-967-2789, which leaves me with, a really bad option. Welcome back, CJ.
Hey there. I didn't expect to take the call. I thought you had a guess.
I didn't expect to take your call either, CJ. I was going to cool your heels for a while longer, but welcome back, man. Happy Friday.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Same to you. You and your party does sound like such a group of loving people, the way you talk about Sen Sinema and Joe Manchin.
I've got no complaints about the president in the short run. I am supportive of his.
I was just going to say, I think everybody should listen to her speech compared to the speech of hate by the worst president ever in 1 year.
Sir, his speech was fiery and perhaps, not bridging the bipartisan divide, no doubt, because he's calling out a party that's doing voter suppression. I mean, we already fought the civil rights wars, didn't we, CJ? I mean, we've already established certain people will use
passed that, Curtis.
The Republic has not passed that, dude. I mean, sure, the party switched back in the 50s and the 60s with the civil rights. The Southern Dixiecrats became the base of the Republican Party, CJ. You know that.
Well, I actually loved her speech because she spoke of the disease of divisiveness. And there's 52, possibly 53 with Kelly that don't want to destroy our democracy. And the only way you folks win in November is by allowing illegals and 17-year-olds to vote. Joe Manchin.
17-year-olds, man, where are you coming with that?
Because that was a proposal by your party.
Okay.
Maybe you should listen to more than just MSNBC and CNN.
Well, but that might be somebody's proposal somewhere. But, the whole party doesn't answer for every member. It's a big ass tent. And we got lots of cats and it's hard to hurt them all.
They got to get 60 votes, and that's a beautiful thing, Curdy.
How many
That is
votes
a
did it take to
beautiful
put
thing about
Amy
our
Coney
democracy.
Barrett on the U.S. Supreme Court? How many votes did that require, CJ? You know the answer is 50,
Who
sir.
did you say?
They
Who did
threw
you go?
Amy Coney Barrett, you know, the Supreme Court justice. They put her on the
Yes,
court
wasn't
with
about a
less than
filibuster
60
then.
votes. Yes, it was. It's the
Yeah,
same
they're
damn
right
thing,
now,
CJ.
there
Senate
are
confirmation.
52
It's
votes.
exactly the same process.
Curdy, there's 52 votes that are against destroying our democracy. You can
Oh,
have,
buddy, if that were true, I'd acknowledge it. Because you know, CJ, that would be depressive. And I am frustrated with Democrats, including guys like Mark Kelly, who might be opposed to filibuster reform because it's a fake construct, dude. It only existed since 1975, right? Something like that. The 60 vote threshold. And before that, what was it used for, CJ? This filibuster that you embrace has been basically the tool of the segregationists to fight back against the civil rights movement. Well, we've got a new civil rights movement, CJ. You might not feel that way, dude, but there are efforts afoot to suppress the votes, especially of Black people. I know that ain't you, CJ, so it doesn't affect your life, but it affects our democracy. Their votes are just as important as your vote. And when you make it harder to vote in a big urban center, you know, like Fulton County, Atlanta, when Georgia starts changing laws and purging voters, it's not because they love democracy. It's because they can't figure out how to win elections if they got to run on their ideas. So their brightest idea, CJ, as near as I can tell, is suppress the vote. And right here in the great state of Wisconsin, Dale Schultz, a Republican senator, twice elected majority leader. I mean, dude, he came on my show back in like 2014, and he expressed this on the air. We're out of good ideas. I'm done defending my party. Every effort we take is to suppress the vote. So, CJ, I'm not the one saying it. Dale Schultz was the one saying it on this show. And you can candy coat it and you can sugar wrap it, but it's still voter suppression, dude. And if the means to overcome the voter suppression is the Voting Rights Act, and that requires filibuster reform, setting it aside like we did for Amy Coney Barrett, well, so be it, dude. The only difference between the Republicans and the Democrats is the Republicans will flaunt rules if it doesn't serve their ends and their means. So anyway, CJ, thanks for getting me fired up. Have a great weekend. 844-967-2789. Lori, Humboldt, California. Humboldt County, California. Lori, welcome back. You've called before, haven't you?
Actually, I have. Yeah, thank you for taking me. Yeah.
What do you got for us?
Merrick Garland, maybe he's doing more than I know, or maybe he's doing more than I understand. But yeah, I mean, I just chalk it up that, regarding
the January 6th, the insurrection.
Yeah.
But Lori, here's the good news. And maybe you've been, checked out a little bit this week, but he did something very, very good, or at least the Department of Justice did. Yesterday, amongst the bad news of the Sen Sinema speech and, the slow death of democracy because we can't pass anything through the Senate, there was the news that the Department of Justice had filed seditious conspiracy charges against 10 or 11 Oath Keepers. And Lori, that is a very big step in the right direction. And there were also unnamed conspirators who aren't smaller fish, and they weren't people that were directly part of the Oath Keepers, but the people, if we look at the historical record, Lori, it was Roger Stone that was there with the Oath Keepers, and Roger Stone was also directing a lot of the January 6th, perhaps from the Willard Hotel. And I think Donald Trump's also obviously caught up in this, Lori. But I think there was a huge step in the right direction from the Department of Justice, the seditious conspiracy charges that takes all the thunder out of all these claims from the right that this was not an insurrection. These charges specifically tell us the Department of Justice called this an insurrection.
Apparently, I can't believe that's pretty black and white there. I mean, I apparently, like you said, I mean, I had just missed that.
Where were you Lori, where were you in the 3 o'clock hour yesterday? This news just broke yesterday. We just brought you up to speed, sister.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I was looking for him too. I mean, he must be aware of the Democratic sentiment of him out there. And
I don't think he cares about the partisan sentiment. A good attorney general shouldn't care about the partisan sentiment. He shouldn't be swayed by that. But he should care about the democracy and the rule of law. And we need to press forward where the evidence leads. And I think his speech, perhaps a little bit of a tell. And, you know, I'm here to someday declare it Merrick Garland Day, Lori. And we can't do that until Trump and the highest echelons get charged. And we cannot move on as a country, in my opinion, until that happens either. Lori, really appreciate you listening. Sister, we just caught you up. New news to you means I just scooped it. I just broke it to you. 844-967-2789. Jim from St. Louis Park, Minneapolis. Welcome, Jim. That is Minneapolis, isn't it?
We are, Jason, we are whole eastern border of Minneapolis. So we're the first ring suburb, right?
Gotcha.
Minneapolis.
Jim, you got a Friday grievance for us.
Well, I hate the filibuster because 51 senators cannot pass anything, and 41 senators can block everything. And right now, the Democrats in the Senate represent 40 million more people than the Republicans represent, yet it's a 50-50 split. I mean, we have such a problem with minority rule in this country. And the problem with the filibuster now, too, is it takes so little effort. They can spend 30 seconds typing an email, and that's enough to kill anything.
Jim, so let me ask you a question. Would you be okay with the preservation of the filibuster, but we have to live with Ted Cruz doing, you know, My Pet Goat and Green Eggs and Ham on the Senate floor? The show, because you know it's going to be the Josh Hawleys, the Rand Pauls, the Ted Cruzes. It's going to be that aspect of the party that are going to look at this as a platform, you know, to speak directly to the American people.
I would be fine with that. That's the way it was originally designed. A talking filibuster, yes, would be a 1,000 times better than what we have now. I mean, having an email filibuster where you can send an email, you throw out the filibuster, and then it just stops.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you short, Jim. A few more callers I'd like to get to this segment. Yeah, Mr. Smith goes to Washington style. I'm down, Jim. I'm sure that John Tester and Mark Kelly and maybe even Joe Manchin could find some common ground. I just don't know how we bring Sinema along, but I cannot imagine that woman is ever going to win re-election in the state of Arizona. She abandoned her party. And of course, the Republicans, they don't want her. They don't want Sinema. She's just a useful fool and tool to them. Jim, appreciate your call. More Friday grievances. We're lining them up. 844-967-2789. Bill from Madison, you're next. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, I think I'd way past the filibuster problem that we have right now. Remember when we used to...
solutions. I got to hear it.
Yeah, we used to have those little boxes on our tax forms where we could check off to contribute to the federal campaign money.
Yes, sir.
And I don't see any reason why we couldn't have one of those for voting. If you voted, registered to vote on your tax forms by filing and you're registered to vote and then you vote, you get a tax break, which would bring it into reconciliation because it would be a financial thing. You could attach the rest of the Voter Rights Act to it, and they would no longer need to worry about the filibuster.
Here would be the problem, Bill. They'd go ask the parliamentarian. She would say no, and the Democrats would accept that as an answer, unlike the Republicans who would just fire the parliamentarian.
Why would she say no? They said yes with Obamacare with the same thing. That was a tax break. That's how they got that in.
Well,
I
like
Republicans.
Yes, sir.
Tax breaks through recently under reconciliation. That's how they did that when they were in charge. So it would be kind of hard for me to believe that the parliamentarian would have any way of really actually denying that. But maybe it's possible. I don't know. I'm not sure. I appreciate that. Is a creative thought, Bill. Thanks for listening, man.
Solutions. I like proposed solutions. 844-967-2789. That is quite creative. Mark from Sussex, be creative. Solve a problem or at least lay a grievance on us.
I do have a grievance because when John McCain went against the Republican Party, he's actually called a maverick. When Sinema, when Manchin, they're the worst people in the world. But here's the hypocrisy, okay? The filibuster. Everybody in the Democratic Party, when the Republicans were in control, were against the filibuster. I've heard probably 60 different Democrats against the filibuster, okay?
No, you got it opposite, Mark. We like the filibuster when Republicans are in control because then we can block your agenda.
Okay, correct. Okay, that is correct. But it's a complete hypocrisy of it. It's just a laugh.
When was the last time you had 60 Senate seats, Mark? The Republicans. Can you remember back that far?
No, I have no idea.
It's been a while. And the fact that the country continues to pick Democrats to govern and the Republican response is effectively intransigence, obstructionism. I don't think that's what the American people want. You may say, well, Trump won and 51 states or whatever. Don't have time for the math. Mark, I appreciate you listening. We'll have these arguments each and every day right here on the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We take all comers. 844-967-2789.
Not just stepping stone, not just stepping stone, not just stepping stone.
Explain that, because my voters don't get it.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with soy candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
I'm Kirk Bangstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in deep red northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com super PAC tab.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising, the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. We air the grievances right here at 844-967-2789. You can text that number, but I prefer when you call, and I tell these guys, stop dealing with the tolls on the trucks, the trolls on the text line. You guys waste a disproportionate amount of time with the trolls. Men and women of real courage, they called the show. 844-96-PARTY. It is a political party up in here. Sadly, check's not going to be in the mail this weekend, folks. More than 30 million families to lose the child tax credit starting this weekend. I don't know if you have kids. Unexpectedly, my wife and I started getting checks in the mail from the federal government. What are these? Now, they weren't substantial checks, and maybe we were, beyond certain thresholds. So, our checks were diminished, but we got 2 kids at the house and we got a little check. And, kids always got bills. There's always expenses. We spent that money. I guarantee it. It didn't go to the bottom line savings mutual fund account. It went to the grocery account. It went to the Friday night account, whatever that was. And now it's done. Now the checks are done. We see, and this was a tax credit that you could claim, or at least the federal government was extending half of the tax credit in real time. And they'd been doing so since like last summer. But the failure of the Build Back Better, and let's not forget, that's Joe Manchin, that's Kristen Sinema. Well, there was no extension of this tax credit. So more good news for this president. And the current Quinnipiac, 33% approval rating for Joe Biden. Now, that seems like an outlier. That seems awfully damn low, that only a third of the country currently support our president. And the Biden White House, they're pushing back. And they're saying, well, I believe they pointed at Nate Silver. Hey, you haven't seen the 538 polling. The average of polling, our guy's at 43% approval rating. Oof. That's your upside? No, we're at 43. So right now, Joe Biden's getting his teeth kicked in. Our president is in trouble. And he needs some help. He needs some allies. And I thought, that was probably giving the big speech and going up to the Hill for the bruncheon. And the Kristen Sinemas kicked him in the teeth, stabbed him in the back. And it's not going to help his approval ratings, and it's not going to help the Democratic Party move forward with the will of the American people or the agenda that they ran on. So when the Dems can never deliver their agenda, people start saying, why would I vote for that party? Why would I care about the Democratic Party and what they promise me? Because when they get there, when I vote for them, they don't deliver. 844-967-2789. Pizza Box. Glasses, half full or half empty today, buddy?
Mine's always empty and tipped over, and one of the cats kicking it around, so no big deal. But hey, in the redundant words of CJ, thank God for Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, or we wouldn't have hungry children in this country, right? Here's the thing about Manchin and Sinema. I don't know about you, Prudy, but 15 seasons of Supernatural. These folks are demons, and they're already dead. They just need to be staked. There's special items that, we're going to have to hunt to do this. I don't know what to say. This, what is it? The love from the Republican Party that CJ talks about under Donald Trump's regime. How much love? Remember all the love everybody felt across the world? The murder went up to the most it's ever been.
Pizza Box, I was in the room when Donald Trump accepted the nomination at the Quicken Loan Center in Cleveland back in 2016. That was the darkest speech I've ever seen in my life. And once he got done speaking, they played "You Can't Always Get What You Want," kind of a middle finger to the actual convention crowd, because they didn't get what they wanted. If you remember, Pizza Box Mike, they were trying to throw Donald Trump out all the way to the convention. That's why he brought Paul Manafort on, doing the pro bono work. Manafort first glommed on to Trump because he was there to guide him through the convention process, keep him as the top of the ticket. But anyways, man, I digress. You continue.
Lord and master after that, right?
Come on, man. Let's not lay it on. Demons imply Satan and devil, and we're Devil Radio, and I'd like to think we're the good team, Michael. So let's not cast aspersions on the demons, if you will.
Obviously, you don't know Crowley or some of the other people that came from hell in Supernatural series. You got to watch it. Get caught up. These are tools that the Democratic Party can use.
The CW, saving America.
Pizza Box Mike has his own show right here on the Devil's Advocates Radio Network. Plays out on Devil Radio 92.7 Saturdays at noon. You can hear him in Waukesha and all across eastern Wisconsin as well. 5:40 a.m., 101 FM in the Shaw. I produced that fine show last Saturday. Hardly screwed it up at all. 844-967-2789. Friday grievances. Aram here. Wisco Paul, you're next. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Friday, Crudy. Biden had so much stuff to clean up, and I think he's done a relatively good job. And the COVID has caused a lot of these supply disruptions, and he didn't get any help from the people that didn't get vaccinated. I think he's done a pretty good job. I don't understand this polling. I really don't.
Well, here's the problem. And I agree with you, Paul. And I was a Bernie guy, but as I used to joke, I voted for the socialists, but I have liked, especially this new tone from Joe Biden. But the problem is the promises made by Joe Biden was to somehow unify the country, which of course you got to have a willing dance partner, and Republicans are not that. And they can wreck his promise just by being intransigent and not voting for anything or supportive of anything. But there are a couple of small bipartisan victories. The smaller infrastructure bill, he should be out there crowing about that. There are some other bills. Actually, there is a bill that passed through the Senate. I thought I read something about it in the Washington Post, and we're waiting on Nancy Pelosi. It's not the right time, or some aspect of the bill's got someone ticked off. And I'm thinking, pass the bill, put up some bipartisan legislative achievements, because that's what Biden promised, to be a unifier. The other thing, the more important thing, Wisco Paul, Joe Biden said he was going to solve the coronavirus problem. And you and I both know the reason we can't solve the problem. I mean, I live in a county, 87% vaccination rates here in Dane County. But Wisco Paul, we can't solve this problem if Republicans refuse to get vaccinated. They're going to go die just to defy Joe Biden. You can't make me get vaccinated. I'd rather take some ivermectin. Give me the horse paste. Your thoughts, Wisco? Got like 30 seconds.
It just amazes me what lost the Supreme Court. Fought every step of the way of the virus here. So my grievance of the day has to be Sinema and Manchin. I mean, come on. This would not happen in the Republican Party. As much as I despise what they're doing, they always, at the end, come together and pass the stuff. Look what they did with the Supreme Court.
Well, they never did repeal or replace Obamacare. Come back, a fine guest, Tom Nelson. Quality CBD is your Madison cannabis experience destination. Different than the head shops, Quality CBD is gallery quality art, ambiance, and a Bella bar experience that's second to none. Enjoy kombucha in a Bella glass full of vaporized, legal Delta 8 cannabis. Slow down, relax, and enjoy the experience. Only at Quality CBD, 1222 Williamson Street. Come for the Quality CBD, stay for the experience. Quality CBD, 1222 Willie Street. Darcy Haber, I hear you have solar panels on your office building. Since when are real estate brokers so concerned about the environment?
Drew, you should know that at Solidarity Realty, we provide outstanding real estate service while adhering to our core progressive values. Environmental sustainability is a big part of that.
So you really walk your talk, huh?
Yeah, I even walk to work.
Come on, always?
Well, sometimes I bike, and if I have an appointment across town, I use my solar panels to charge my plug-in.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, and they're honest. Check them out at solidarityrealty.com.
You.
Hi there.
Hey, how are you?
I am
Trying to
well.
get some.
How are
Good.
you?
Good. Trying to get situated here.
Sound clear as a bell. You sound great. Yeah, we're gonna have fun. We are back on the air in just under 6 minutes here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll put the feed in the ear. You can hear all the ads, all that good stuff. And we're almost ready, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Does it look okay back here?
It does. Yeah. Absolutely. Better than most. Yeah.
To put the focus back on a success. The AP Sagar Magani has the story.
It's been a rough stretch for the White House, with setbacks on his voting rights agenda and a loss in the Supreme Court on a big business vaccine mandate.
There's a lot of talk about
disappointments and things we haven't gotten done.
So after a hard week, the president's looking back 2 months to something that did get done.
That's of enormous consequence to the country.
Highlighting progress on implementing the $1 trillion infrastructure package he signed in November. He's announced a 5-year program to repair and upgrade roughly 15,000 bridges nationwide, which the president says will create jobs, improve lives, and make a tangible difference.
We're sending the message to those communities and to the people who call them home. You matter.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
The White House says starting Wednesday, 4 free coronavirus test kits will be available at covidtest.gov. Heavy snow is spreading across large parts of the Midwest, where travel conditions are deteriorating. A judge ruled Martin Shkreli must return more than $64 million in profits he and his former company reaped from raising the price of the life-saving drug Daraprim. The imprisoned ex-CEO is also banned from taking part in the pharmaceutical industry for the rest of his life. Stocks finished mixed. This is AP News.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
From Portage to Watertown, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
At Chad's Design Build, we care deeply about the quality of the services that we provide to our clients. An excellent remodeling experience requires communication, honesty, accuracy, and a detailed plan, all of which helps to create a satisfied client. And these commitments spell our name. To learn more about the Chad's remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com. Building a better world, one remodeled home at a time, and celebrating 30 years of excellence.
Hear history as it happens, only on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Thursday, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services announced more than 13,000 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in a single day for the first time in the pandemic. The state is now averaging just below 10,000 new cases every day for the last week, with COVID-19 hospitalizations also at a pandemic high. Announced yesterday by Governor Tony Evers, all health insurers in Wisconsin will cover over-the-counter at-home COVID-19 testing kits beginning Saturday, January 15th. Also on Thursday, the Evers administration released a statement that more than 200 Wisconsin National Guard members will be working in nursing homes across the state by the end of February to alleviate stress on the short-staffed facilities amid the pandemic. Forecast of cloudy skies with a 60% chance for snow throughout the day. Less than 1 inch of accumulation expected with winds up to 20 miles an hour and a high of 23 degrees. Overcast skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 12 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, rolling into the happy hour with the fine guest. He is Tom Nelson. He's the Outagamie County Executive, great state of Wisconsin. And above and beyond that, he is a U.S. senatorial candidate, wants to take the seat that's currently being held by Ron Johnson. Tom, welcome back to the big show.
It's always good to be on. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Well, Tom, now it's official. You got in the race a long time ago. I believe you were the first Dem to declare your candidacy, but Ron Johnson's joined you. He also is running for re-election. First and foremost, Tom, how much issue do you take with the fact that a guy like Rojo went on a show like this and promised a guy like me he'd be done at 2 terms? And of course, he's got to break that promise to run for re-election. I mean, I got to think his wife at least is stinging from his hypocrisy. Or what's your thoughts, sir?
Well, I don't want you to feel unspecial, though, but I don't think you were the only one that Senator Johnson lied to. And not just once, not just twice, but over and over and over again. You mentioned how we were. Not only was I the first Democrat to get into this race, we're told I was the very first Democratic challenger in the entire country. So, not because I love campaigning, but I kind of guessed. I guessed that this fellow was going to run for re-election, even though he promised that he would not. See, Ron Johnson lives about 23 minutes away from me. And I just kind of felt this, you just had this sense, though, I bet this guy's going to go back down from his word and he's going to run. And sure enough, after the 2020 election, spending all the Sunday mornings in front of all the Sunday morning TV shows on Fox News all the time, it really showed that this guy was going to run again. So I'm not surprised. I think a lot of folks are, though, but unfortunately, this was our guess, that he was going to run again. And we've spent 14, 15 months in this guy's grill, giving it to him day in and day out, because we knew if this guy was going to get in, we needed an alternative and we needed someone working on it right away, because he's the incumbent. He's the incumbent. He's going to have gajillions and gajillions of dollars. And the best thing he could do is put someone up there, challenge him right at the beginning, which is exactly what we did. So I think this has best positioned our campaign to succeed, to say nothing about furthering the greater cause of holding Ron Johnson accountable.
Well, he calls himself, in his logic, at least in the rollout video, well, he's a truth teller. And that's why he's got to break his word, because he's got to go back to DC and tell more truth. Tom, I don't think that's it. But anyways, I think he likes the power. I think he likes the title. The filibuster. We've talked a lot about the filibuster here this week. And obviously, we've got a problem. The Joe Biden agenda, be it the Build Back Better, be it the Voting Rights Act, well, it's not going to move forward, not as long as there is a filibuster. And apparently, the Democratic Party cannot move forward as long as we've got these centrist Dems that refuse to get on board with the Biden agenda. Well, Tom, we could help solve that problem if we could win this seat in Wisconsin. So, assuming you are the nominee and the eventual senator from the great state of Wisconsin, where do you stand on the filibuster? Where do you stand on voting rights?
Well, first of all, I don't call them, centrist Democrats. I call them reactionary Democrats, because they want to go back to the good old days, and it simply was not. We have to get rid of the filibuster. The filibuster is not part of the Constitution. Because of the filibuster, we didn't have civil rights legislation until the 1960s. Because of the filibuster, it is incredibly difficult for us to get important pieces of legislation through. The question now is not whether or not we're going to get rid of the filibuster. The question now is, when will we get rid of it? You cannot tell me, after an entire year of this debate, trying to get rid of the filibuster, you cannot tell me that if the Republicans, God forbid, take over the U.S. Senate, that Mitch McConnell is going to say, well, the Democrats didn't do it to us, so we're not going to do it to them. Wrong. As soon as they get power back, they're going to get rid of the filibuster, and they're going to get rid of any type of rule that is going to hold them back and hold back their agenda. So the whole debate about how, this is a tradition of the U.S. Senate that we have to honor, that's not an issue right there. That ship has long since sailed. Two options. One, the Democrats get rid of the filibuster and we do good things. Or we wait and we allow the Republicans to get rid of the filibuster and they do a lot of bad things. That is what we're dealing with right now.
Kirsten Sinema, senator from Arizona. I don't personally care for her much, but she went on the floor yesterday, and I think she misconstrued a lot of things about the filibuster. But effectively, her argument, as I understood it, is she's trying to preserve the tool of the minority because the Dems will be in the minority again someday. But Tom, I think you've already made the case again. Yeah. Well, Mitch McConnell, when it came time to impanel Coney Barrett, well, they got rid of the filibuster for that. When it came time for the Trump tax cuts, they used reconciliation for that. Hell, when it came time to honor the full faith and credit of the United States and set aside the debt limit, the Dems and the Republicans kind of found a workaround, a carve out to the filibuster for that. Tom, it's just an argument that doesn't seem to hold any water, because just when we would think we would need it, the Republicans by a simple majority vote can take it away anyways.
What you should do, Mike, right now is to take the microphone out of the holder and drop it on the floor. I mean, you made the case right there. I mean,
they're exactly. Damn expensive.
Mic drop. There you go. Okay, all right. I know. You have to have a lot more Peter Pekarsky ads to be able to pay for that.
Well, we could have a few more Tom Nelson ads.
I know. Hey, look, I set myself up for that. I should not have said that. That's my all right. I'll call Irene and have her cut you a check or something. That's on me. Mea culpa. But no, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, is Mitch McConnell really an honest broker? Of course not. You can't trust these guys. We've only gotten this far because we're in control. I mean, Kirsten Sinema, for someone being in Congress for 10 years, for someone who's been in public life for 20 years, it is such a naive comment to talk about how somehow we have to honor these traditions because they're going to do this to us. They're going to do it to us no matter what. And they have to wisen up to this. And I don't know. I think, as the president said a couple of days ago, we don't have a lot of confidence that we can get this thing done. And so the only answer right now that Wisconsinites can affect is to get rid of Ron Johnson. It's a math equation, 50-50. We got two Democrats who aren't really Democrats. We got to win back at least one seat. And that's Wisconsin seat. Just like the road to the White House went through Wisconsin in 2020, the road to the Senate majority goes through Wisconsin as well.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine guest live via Zoom. He is Tom Nelson, a U.S. senatorial candidate, a fine Dem, and an Outagamie County executive, which makes you a chief executive. Let me ask you about coronavirus. Obviously, this pandemic has been ongoing for now 2 presidencies, a number of years, and we can't seem to move beyond it. Now, I would cast some blame on Republicans that refuse to get vaccinated, but politically, it's been an albatross for Joe Biden, because Biden tried to, say, I will solve this problem. And so far, it's hard to solve a problem if you don't have a willing dance partner in the Republicans willing to get vaccinated. But how do we move forward in this current pandemic? Are we just hopeful that Omicron has infected enough of our friends and family that, everyone's got herd immunity? What's the plan going forward, Tom?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, I wish I had a good answer and I don't. And let me tell you a little story that shows, I'm not so bullish on this. In the last 2 months, I've gone to at least 4 COVID funerals. It's probably more than that. You just don't know, because typically in the obituaries, they don't say someone passed away because of COVID. These 4 funerals, not singling anyone out, but in these 4 funerals, very few people were wearing a mask. Very few people were wearing a mask. So what we know is we have loved ones who have died because of COVID, and that hasn't changed anything. Some folks are still not getting vaccinated. Some folks are still not masking in public. So I don't have an answer to that. I mean, this is you can't get more real as far as public policy goes when you have a loved one who dies because they're not following the guidelines. They're not taking the advice and the recommendation, the strong recommendation. In the case of President Biden, trying to get a rule passed that is going to require large employers to get their employees vaccinated. I guess the best thing that you can do is you just keep pushing this message. We do it at a local level. I mean, I'm a county executive. We didn't get any help from President Trump. We had no help, of course, from Ron Johnson. And we were on the front lines early on with the fight against COVID. We were basically left on our own. Our public health departments, county executives, mayors, of course, frontline workers. We're the ones who have been trying to fight this virus. And that's the approach that we've been taking unfortunately, for almost 2 years now. And, I guess we do the best we can.
Well, Tom, my understanding is the Biden administration is going to make home testing available to all Americans, and also the quality masks, the K95s or the N95s, I forget which designation it is. U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, the guy who you'd like to beat, well, he would probably advocate for, sending some horse paste to everyone. Do you think these sort of mass mailing sort of things are an effective way? We got 1 minute in this segment. We'll bring Tom Nelson back. Your thoughts? Mailing masks and things of that sort. Testing.
Anything we can do. Yeah, I think anything that is positive, anything that's constructive, anything that has shown to get results that can stop the spread of this virus, that can save lives, we have to do it. And we're at that point right now where we shouldn't spare any expense, because we're going through 3 waves, and, hopefully, God forbid, we don't go through a 4th wave or a 5th wave. So whatever can be done, we should do.
Tom Nelson, the Allegheny County Executive, U.S. Senatorial candidate, friend of ours. Stick around. More Tom Nelson, more Devil's Advocates.
We have top men working on it right now.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Is that from Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Bake sale tomorrow? Let's do this. Including checking nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With so much loss, you may feel like you can't handle it all. Meditation or other spiritual practices can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Treat yourself to some Wisco Home Goods natural lotions or sugar scrub in 2022. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our natural hand soaps, lotions, and sugar scrubs offer you the luxury you deserve. Wisco Home Goods self-care products come in a variety of scents you're sure to love. So go on, add a little pampering to your daily routine. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing self-care and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome back from the 420 break. We've got a fine guest. He stuck around. We appreciate him doing so. He is Tom Nelson, Outagamie County executive and a U.S. senatorial candidate, a fine Democrat from the state of Wisconsin. Tom, appreciate you sticking around. Wanted to talk more about the big lie. Ron Johnson's been a spreader of the big lie as far as I'm concerned. And certainly he has whitewashed what happened on January 6th, this insurrectionist action. Ron intended to challenge the Electoral College outcome, and it was just the violence that kind of set aside the steam for that, apparently. What is your opinion? How should we treat those that either actively participated in or supported either the violent actions on January 6th or perhaps the Green Bay sweep, the procedural coup that was underway, as we understand it, as has been reported in Peter Navarro's book? Well, that's the part that Ron Johnson clearly supported. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to put our foot down and prosecute those folks to the fullest extent of the law. It's as simple as that. You know, insurrection, seditious actions. I mean, what more do you need to say? I mean, we need to send a message loud and clear that this is not acceptable, that what happened is not something that we can sweep underneath the rug. What happened is not something that we can make excuses to be dismissive. We have to recognize that, unfortunately, this could not be exceptional, that there could be more instances like that. And I'm sure that law enforcement all across this country, unfortunately, have to prepare for that possibility. And so I think the simple answer, very simple and direct, is that these folks need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Simple as that.
I know you're running for federal office, but we have what I would term some insurrectionist Republicans here in the state of Wisconsin. We have false electors who basically committed fraud. They claimed under, didn't claim under penalty of law, but basically pledged that they were acting in an honest fashion when they claimed that they were Trump electors, when we all know, and we've done recounts, every other damn thing. Tom, we know that Joe Biden won the state. We know that they had already exhausted every court challenge available to them. They were like 0-60 in the courts. And they still wrote this letter representing themselves to be a alternative slate of electors. Well, that's just fraud. And it should be criminal, Tom, to my opinion. And I know there have been referrals made to the Milwaukee County District Attorney, to the Elections Commission, but I would prefer to see the Department of Justice, the federal government, get involved. Do you, sir, is it your opinion, where do you think there should be some ramifications for these sort of actions? How should we prevent others, dissuade others from trying to steal elections in the future?
Well, I think that we've got plenty of layers of law enforcement agencies, that there should be all kinds of opportunity and no shortage of avenues to, again, prosecute these folks. I cannot stress enough that we have to be very clear. We have to put our foot down. We need to make this as very clear to everyone, the American people, and especially the oath keepers, people who have committed sedition actions, people who are thinking about doing that. It has to be crystal clear, because we know, unfortunately, it's probably going to happen again. And this isn't an expression of different political views. This is not disagreeing about the outcome of an election. This is about an attack on our democracy. And unless we take this serious, unless we try to nip it in the bud, we will continue to have this problem election year in and election year out. And that's just not acceptable.
Well, Tom, we know the Voting Rights Act, at least from the current position, it's not advancing. We've got gerrymandering. It's happening in real time. It's being fought in the courts, but we know it's going to be a Republican leading map here in Wisconsin. We know a lot of states are done with their gerrymandered maps, and they will have partisan persuasion. Well, there's no voting rights. There's no federal legislation that prevents that action, Tom.
Right.
So it ain't going to get better. As a Democrat, when you're out there running for elective office, is it more important to talk about what it is that Biden has delivered, what it is you would hope to deliver if you were elected to the U.S. Senate, or is it more important to argue for small d democracy and the upholding of, just the elective process? What do you think is more important? Or, it can't be all of the above, Tom, but, kind of both.
Well, I think it's it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that we do. We do have to talk about how there are important issues with respect to the current state of and future of our democracy. I've stood for election before. I'm up here in the Appleton, Green Bay area. I've run many times. I've won 6 elections, 3 as a legislator, 3 as a county executive, and I can't remember the last time that I had to emphasize civic lessons when it comes to promoting my candidacy. What we should be spending time is we should be talking about, yes, the good things, the great things that President Biden and the Democratic Congress have done over the last year. Because here's a challenge that Democrats have. Republicans have it easy. It's easy to be Republican. All they have to do is say 4 things: less government, lower taxes. As long as they can show that the government does not function properly and they can cut your taxes, they win. Democrats, we take the complicated problems and we craft complicated solutions. And not only is it difficult to come up with those solutions and solve these problems, but then we have to talk about it and we have to give a compelling reason and a narrative to do it. So we need to start doing this. It's not starting right now on the campaign trail. We should have been doing this for a year, which again is another reason why I got into the race 15 months ago, because we're going to have to lay out the argument. We're going to talk about how we've made a positive, constructive difference in the lives of Wisconsinites. Elections are not about candidates. They're about the voters and how we can improve their lives, how we can make sure that they've got good schools, they've got good roads, we have a good healthcare system, that we've got competent policymakers that can handle a pandemic. Right now, there's not a lot of confidence in our system for all kinds of different reasons. So we need to spend as much time as possible talking about the good things that Democrats have done right now so that we can have, God willing, a good election year and make sure that someone like Ron Johnson does not go back to the U.S. Senate. And by the way, we should the January 6th Commission needs to subpoena Ron Johnson, which I called for last week.
Tom Nelson, you need to tell people how they can get involved in your U.S. senatorial campaign and make it quick.
Go to Nelson4WI.com. Nelson4WI.com. FOR. Is that good?
Support Tom Nelson. He can buy ads on Progressive Radio. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. The Friday edition rolls on. Thanks, Tom.
You bet.
I think that I would like to run, but I just wasn't raised that way.
That was very, very.
Oh, Devil Radio. Good thing I brought my horns.
Good.
Thanks, man. That was great.
You bet. Thanks, Mel.
Hi, this is Todd, owner of Orion Inspections, and I love winter. One reason is because January is National Radon Awareness Month. You probably heard about radon and its dangers and have maybe put off testing for it because, life. But winter is the perfect time. The windows are closed, the kids aren't running in and out, the furnace is on. It's an ideal environment to get the most accurate reading. And then you'll have solid information to base your next decisions on. We want you to have a happy and healthy new year. Learn more about radon and schedule your test today at orioninspections.com.
Do you need to hire? Let Devil Radio help your business find the right candidate with our Help Wanted half minutes. Devil Radio will create a 30-second job listing for your business. Play it on Devil Radio for the month. We'll feature your job listing during Afternoon Drive on Fridays. And we'll even publish your Help Wanted listing on Devil Radio 927.com's website, all for just $300 per month. If you're hiring, Devil Radio can help. Call today.
Bound over for trial. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Darrell Brooks Jr., the Milwaukee man accused of driving his SUV through a crowded Christmas parade in suburban Waukesha last November, has been bound over to stand trial. 6 people were killed, more than 50 others hurt. Police Detective Thomas Casey says Brooks was driving right at people.
Zigzagging through the crowd where there's no vehicles, and it appears that the vehicles intentionally aiming for people.
Brooks faces 77 charges, including 6 counts of homicide. U.S. intelligence officials say Russia is working to create a pretext for its troops to invade Ukraine, pre-positioning operatives to conduct a false flag operation in eastern Ukraine. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby.
We've seen this kind of thing before out of Russia. When there isn't an actual crisis to suit their needs, they'll make one up.
Some 70 Ukrainian national and regional government websites were hit by a cyber attack today. I'm Tim McGuire.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. Whether you want to learn Spanish for future travel plans, French to connect with extended family, or maybe German to land a new job, Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you'll actually use. All you need is 15 minutes a day, and you'll be on your way to confidently speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel is designed by real language experts using a modern conversation-based technique that makes learning fun, engaging, and best of all, memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then sentences gradually get more complex. Soon you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. And with 14 languages to choose from and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll be sure to learn what matters most to you. Babbel, language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. The Dane County Jail reported yesterday that a total of 81 inmates have tested positive for COVID-19 this week after the National Guard conducted testing for all inmates currently residing in the county facility. That is in addition to the roughly 90 individuals that tested positive last week, which sparked the jail-wide testing by County Sheriff Calvin Barrett. Internationally renowned women's rights activist Miriam Jarani has resettled in Milwaukee through the Afghan refugee resettlement efforts undertaken by the federal and state governments. The Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team beat the Ohio State Buckeyes last night 78-68 to extend their winning streak to 6 games. The win moves the Badgers to second place in the Big Ten Conference behind only Illinois and Michigan State, who are tied for first. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about, The Devil's Advocates.
Hey, my, it's a Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates radio show. Welcome to it. Thanks for sticking around. Those that have been listening since back in the day, you can always air your Friday grievances here. We got a little bit of time, and then another fine guest, Don Brown. He is a Waukesha alder. We're going to talk about the Jamboree event happening down in Waukesha, sort of the first community event after the tragic holiday parade that happened, obviously, last month. So we'll talk with Don Brown soon. Your phone calls could be next. 844-967-2789. My pal, Andy from Beaver Dam. How you been, Andy? Happy New Year, dude.
Andy, it's Crudy. I just wanted to make a quick call to let you know I was still alive.
Good.
I spent a month and a half down at UW Hospital with a vascular issue, just like Mark from the SAC had his. He was in there before I was, according to what I've heard him say on the radio. But I wanted to congratulate you on getting re-entrenched in the Southeastern radio market.
Yeah,
and,
WAUK 540 AM. You can hear that, I believe, all the way to Beaver Dam. And, of course, 101 FM, the Shaw.
Shaw. Yeah. So that's good. And I don't know, we won't discuss the details on the air, but I know you were hinting that that was your eventual goal, if you could get scratch up some more money and get back into that.
I had to get my you-know-what together, and I'm still in the process of doing that, Andy. But you know me, I can't wait. I can't wait for someday. I mean, we got to move the electorate now. And Andy,
definitely.
Right now was the right time to expand the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, brother. But can't leave old friends like you behind. I'm glad you called. You got a political grievance today, buddy.
Well, I just think the whole political picture right now is a train wreck. They, all the pundits are blaming Biden for all the issues. And, like we said at the onset, Joe Biden isn't perfect, but he's honest, he's good, and he's trying to get these things. COVID, turned out to be a bigger problem. It should have, we should be actually, if things have been handled from the onset better, we would probably be beyond that.
Buddy, we're approaching a million dead Americans, and as long as that's not in the rear view mirror, it's kind of like football, Andy. The quarterback gets too much credit and too much blame. Well, Joe Biden, you can call him the quarterback, you can call him the coach. But at the end of the season, if you are not successful, somebody's getting fired, and it probably ain't the GM. 844-967-2789. Andy, glad you're back in the fold. Jeff from Madison, welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Hey, Cruz. Happy Friday.
Thanks,
I am,
man.
thinking that, if not Andy, but CJ and others are concerned about, people illegally voting, I think maybe we should just change the laws. Or, maybe CJ might be one of those people who would have been opposed to interracial marriages and other law changes like that. But, I was thinking if we change the law so that every person is issued a ballot and it's compulsory that you have to return the ballot, then at the bottom of every single race, you just have a little box that says none of the above. I think that would, that might solve a lot of issues right there.
Well, that's a nice thought, but much like loving Virginia, I suspect the biggest issue so many Republicans have is they don't see the value in someone else's vote in the same way they do in their own. They don't think it's possible that the dynamics of the country have changed so much that a white man might not be the president, might not be the best choice. It's very patriarchal, this conservative belief system. It's very father knows best, and they like a strong leader. Strong and wrong's just fine, as long as he's strong. And Jeff, the problem with Democrats is we're more sort of in it for the common man, in it for the group, but we don't know how to go out there and lead. When we have power, we just don't exert power. So it's great to think we're somehow going to change the laws, but the Democrats can't pass the Voting Rights Act. Here in the state of Wisconsin, we've gerrymandered legislative control. We've ceded it to Republicans for another decade. I mean, we can't pass any laws. There's no real governance. We're just playing goalie. Tony Evers is the goalie right now, Jeff. It's a little depressing to talk about. That's why we air these grievances on Friday.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, man. Hope I didn't harsh your buzz. 844-967-2789. Going to sneak in a few more grievances. And then Don Brown, a Waukesha alder, talking about Jamboree, the first Waukesha-based event since the tragic holiday parade. Mark from the SAC, welcome back. What do you got for us, Mark?
Hey, I think, that what a Republicans got against every eligible voter, we've said it before, they don't want every eligible voter to vote. At 18, they should be automatic registration.
You want 17-year-olds to vote, Mark? Somebody said it, so why do you want chaos at the ballot boxes?
When you hit 18, you are eligible to vote if you're a citizen of this country and don't have outstanding criminal convictions that prevent you from voting. And for these clowns that declared themselves electors when they weren't electors, if they were conspiring, if there's any email traffic between them and the people that were conspiring with their overthrow of the government at all, that's a conspiracy.
Mark, we know
tangentially limit, throw them out, charge them with conspiracy. And if they're involved with those oath keepers, I'll charge them with sedition.
Well, let me draw a distinction between the oath keepers who were violent. They were up there charging the Capitol. They were in a military formation. They were part of the violent coup that happened on January 6th. But Mark, I draw a distinction, of course, to the Green Bay sweep and what happened, the false slate of electors. Even though all the court challenges had been overcome, if you've been reading the reporting very closely of Patrick Marley, Bob Spindell keeps making confessions in public. And Bob Spindell, the most recent, I paraphrase here, but Spindell basically said, we did this at the behest of the Trump campaign and the Republican Party. And here in the state of Wisconsin, I mean, Andrew Hitt, he was the current chair of the Republicans. Bob Spindell was a Wisconsin elections commissioner, still is, wants to be the judge and jury on his own, quandary in that he presented fraud in an electoral context. He presented himself to be a false Trump elector. Well, 8 other people did so as well, and they're all connected. They're all either chairs or vice chairs of county Republican parties here in the state of Wisconsin. And they all made the assertion under oath that this was the truth and the whole truth. No, it wasn't. It was fraud. You tried to perpetrate fraud. And Bob Spindell keeps saying, well, because Trump and the Republican Party told us, they wanted us to commit this fraud. And if you watch the reporting going on, what you realize is the 7 states, and this was part of the Green Bay sweep. The whole plan was you get to the state of Arizona, and Mike Pence, the vice president, says, oh, we've got 2 slates of electors from Arizona. We're going to set that aside. And then according to John Eastman's memo, if I understood it correctly, you go through all the states, and each swing state that Donald Trump lost, think Wisconsin, think Michigan, think Pennsylvania. Pardon me. Mike Pence says, we're going to set these states aside. Well, eventually you come to a conclusion. I believe the count would be something like 232 for Donald Trump and 224 for Joe Biden. If you set aside 7 states that Biden won. And then you say, well, we're going to kick it back to the state legislatures. Well, here in the state of Wisconsin, Republicans control the legislature. I believe, even though Gretchen Whitmer is a Democrat at the top of the ticket, I believe Michigan's very similar. We know in Arizona, they've got I believe, a Republican-controlled legislature. So it was all part of the greater plan. And they felt like you had to have these false electors. You had to have these conspiring state-level Republican Party officials, or whatever you want to call them. But without these 7 states, without these false electors in these different states, well, you can't perpetrate the fraud. And the question becomes, and there's a story right now at the Raw story, I'll just read you the headline. This originally published at the Wisconsin Examiner. The author is Melanie Conklin. She's the journalist. Will false Trump electors attempt to hijack the Wisconsin vote? Will they be punished? Question mark. Yeah, it's a great question. Well, my understanding, Dana Nessel, and we've had her on the show a few times. She's the fine Michigan State Attorney General. Well, Michigan had a very similar circumstance. The difference is the false Michigan electors showed up at the state capitol and they got turned away at the door. Well, where are the electors? No, the real electors are here. They're all accounted for, and you ain't them. Well, those false electors still created the fraudulent document in the state of Michigan. Well, Dana Nessel, the Attorney General of the state of Michigan, she sent that on to the Department of Justice. She's seeking criminal prosecution on these charges. Well, here in the state of Wisconsin, Jeff Mandel, law forward, something of a progressive lawyer of sorts. Occasionally you'll hear him recognized along with Governor Tony Evers, the Democratic administration. But Mandel put forward a complaint. Hey, we've got people committing fraud in the state of Wisconsin claiming to be false Trump electors. And he made that complaint to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and he made that complaint to the Milwaukee County District Attorney. Well, tied in with the deaths in Waukesha is the fact that the guy was out on bail, and he was out on bail from Milwaukee County. So we've got at least 14 Republicans in the state of Wisconsin, probably many of them, if you did a Venn diagram between the insurrectionist sorts and those requesting that the Milwaukee County DA be replaced or resign or demoted. Well, he's also the party that would be investigating their fraud or the fraud of their colleagues, those that presented themselves as false Trump electors. So Melanie Conklin asked, is there going to be consequence? Well, I'm not sure if there is, but if you read these documents, and I'm going to go through quickly, briefly, what it says here. When Pence gets to Arizona, he announces that he has multiple slates of electors, and so is going to defer decision on that until finishing the other states. This was Eastman's memo. At the end, Eastman, of course, was at the Department of Justice as a Trump appointee. At the end, he announces that because of the ongoing disputes in the 7 states, including Wisconsin, there are no electors that can be deemed validly appointed in those states. That means the total number of electors appointed, the language of the 12th Amendment, a majority of electors appointed would therefore be 228. There are, at this point, 232 votes for Trump, 222 for Biden. Pence then gavels President Trump as reelected. So you can say, oh, this was a lark. They're just putting their names on a piece of paper just to preserve what legal alternatives. Here's a little bit more of the reporting from Melanie Conklin at the Wisconsin Examiner. In Wisconsin and 4 other states, the signatures appeared on the document proclaiming, we, the undersigned, being the duly elected and qualified electors for president and vice president of the United States of America from the state of Wisconsin, do hereby certify the following. But none of the 7 certificates indicated that the signatories listed were an illegitimate slate of electors not chosen by the state's voters. Let's name the names one more time. Hope they're all having a great weekend. I hope they're all up for criminal prosecution, perhaps. They include Bob Spindell, he's on the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Andrew Hitt, former Republican Party chair, state of Wisconsin. Carol Bruner. Edward Scott Grabens, he's the Dane County Republican Party chair. Bill Feehan. Robert Spindell, we mentioned him. He's very corrupt. Kathy Kernan. Daryl Carson. Pam Travis. Kelly Rue. Andrew Hitt, and Mary Bernstein. Kernan replaced Tom Schreibel, according to the documents. There should be consequence for perpetrating a fraud in conjunction with the president of the United States. And I think the January 6th committee is now investigating these rogue electors. I hope the Department of Justice will as well, because someday soon I want to declare it Merrick Garland Day up here in this fine nation. Don Brown, Waukesha Elder, talking about Jamboree next. Come back, more Devils.
Good heavens, are you still trying to win?
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
600,000
Hello there.
are receiving checks to help.
How you doing? I'm great. How are you today?
Child tax credit
Good, thanks.
passed by Joe
Good, good. You sound good. You look good. We are back in just under 2 minutes. Thanks for joining us.
Sounds great, and I feel good. Sorry this is a little bit grainy for you.
Oh, no, it's fine, man. It's all good.
I had to go out to my bedroom because the dog's downstairs.
Oh, puppies.
MoveOn.org
I'd let them on the radio.
and is responsible for the content.
Oh, careful you wish for.
Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Cute only plays visually, apparently.
Candles from
Right,
Wisco
right.
Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents. Did you know our candle jars are also double old-fashioned glasses? That's right, buy a candle and you get a free cocktail glass. Check out our blog at wiscohomegoods.com/blog for more information. That's wiscohomegoods.com/blog.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
When they go low, we get high. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, and nearing an end, but we saved the best for last. We've got Waukesha Alder, Don Paul Brown. Put the Paul in there. There might be other Browns out there, want to distinguish. our fine guest. Don, welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mike. Glad to be here.
Well, Don, it's been a tough holiday season in Waukesha. Everyone probably knows the story of the tragic tragedies that happened associated with the Christmas parade. But Don, this weekend is the first time Waukesha has come together after that event, at least as a community. And I don't mean, there have been vigils, but, a celebratory event. It's Jamboree, man. Tell me all about Jamboree.
How about that? So Jamboree started by three women in 1985. So, this is the 37th edition of it. And their mission was to give children and families a good reason to get outdoors and have some fun in the winter. And, I certainly applaud that because winter was always a favorite time when I was a child growing up. And I know it gets colder out here on this side of the Great Lakes, but still plenty to do. And it really is a great celebration of the community. I got to participate in a few events last year as an alderman, and it really is a lot of fun. And, today's the opening day, and tonight's the big kickoff over at Lowell Park. There'll be ice skating. There'll be a lumberjack beer tent. I forget the exact name, but Ray's Grain Brewery will be there serving adult beverages, beers, that is. And there'll be a fireworks show at 8 o'clock. So, what a great way to kick it off. And then, I encourage everyone to go to Boree, BOREE.org, because then you can see the whole calendar of events. There's just a litany of great things. And the mayor's coming on my show tomorrow to talk about it some more. So you'll learn a lot from Mayor Riley. And I really hope I can make the Lumberjack Jaunt, which is a glow walk that'll take place a week from tonight. So
tell me about the glow walk and what would that entail exactly?
I was afraid you'd ask me that, but let's see. No, actually it's let me see. Let's see what the instructions say. I think it's going to be, it's just like each participant receives a glow stick flashlight, and they're going to walk a 1.7 mile trail in Frame Park, right near downtown, and there'll be free pizza and free pizza samples, from Lou Malnati. So also a great opportunity to include some of the businesses in town, and Lou's is a Chicago brand, but they're new to Waukesha, so it's a great opportunity for them to get their brand out and show that they support the community. So so I think that'll be a fun thing to do if we can lasso the kids down and make it out there together. So it really is an exciting time to be in Waukesha, and really proud of how this community has continued to heal and to move forward. And I'm very blessed to have some friends of my children who I call friends of mine that have survived the attack and are doing really well and are really great. Our heroes. They're great examples of strength and resilience, and it's just undaunting courage. They're moving on with their lives, and just really, really proud to know them and kind of be a part of their lives and be a part of the same community.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got to think what we're calling this project. I got to find guest. He is Don Brown. He is a Waukesha, Wisconsin alder. And Don is also going to host a show on our brand new station, WAUK 540 AM and 101 FM, The Shaw. And I think we're calling it Waukesha this week, beginning at 10 a.m. And I'm happy. I'm proud of you, man. You booked the mayor. You got to start with the mayor, don't you?
Yeah, Mayor Sean Riley will be the first guest, and he'll be there to congratulate us on launching the new station in Waukesha. And I know he shares our excitement because, a big diverse university city that really is an eclectic place with so much to do, deserves a dedicated radio station, and really proud to be a part of that experience. And and Mayor Riley is going to talk primarily about Jamboree and what you can expect, and he might even give some of his favorites that he'll encourage people to participate in. And then I have another special guest who will be on later in the show, and that's probably the hottest news item in Waukesha, in my opinion, in addition to our Waukesha Strong movement, is the Waukesha Waukesha South boys varsity basketball team, who until last year lost 61 straight conference games. Now they're 9-3. They beat Arrowhead at home, undefeated Arrowhead at home. And Arrowhead's always the team to beat, probably throughout the state. And just a really exciting story going on. So Bo Richter will be joining us later on in the hour to talk about what an exciting year it's been for Waukesha South basketball. So
Well,
and a lot of other things to talk about.
Well, Don Brown, he is the host of Waukesha This Week. We will have the inaugural edition tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock from our brand new Waukesha studios. We're getting there, Don. I don't know if you've been down there, but we got furniture. We're getting the studio in shape. We're at 217 Wisconsin Avenue. We're very excited to serve the Waukesha community. And someone sent me an email last night and said, you should call it the Key for Milwaukee. And I said, no, we're calling it the Shaw for Waukesha. And here's the difference, Don. There are 30, 40, 50 radio stations, and they're all trying to claim the Milwaukee media market.
Right.
And literally, there are 3 radio stations that are licensed in Waukesha. One's completely serving Milwaukee, the other one's country, and the third one's the Shaw. So we're very excited. But part of that is, we're going to incorporate, and we've already brought on our new news director. We're very excited about that. We brought on you to provide us with this community-centric show, sort of, where the Chamber of Commerce meets the community events calendar. But Don, welcome aboard, man. And we're very excited for your community. Any final thoughts before we run out of time here? I filibuster you, man. Any final thoughts about Waukesha?
Hey, just real quick, you mentioned Mayor Riley, and one of his favorite quotes that I still hold him to is that he hates when people refer to Waukesha as a suburb, because he believes it's its own unique city, and I believe that too. And you participate in the show, and you'll see all the exciting things going on, and what you're missing if you're not from Waukesha. So really excited to be a part of this, and looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow at 10.
Well, final thoughts. The downtown portion of Waukesha, very eclectic, lots of shops, lots of small businesses. And we're putting up our flag in the downtown district. We want to be a part of that. You guys shut down the downtown during the spring and summer, I guess it is. What they call it, Friday Night Live, man. That
Friday Night Live.
Town, I got to tell you, I've owned property in Waukesha for like 5 years. Sold it off, and then we're going to take another crack at Waukesha. But I got to tell you, Don, I think Waukesha's got it going on, especially in regards to the downtown district. We're happy to have you on board, and we're happy to be a part. We can't wait until the Waukesha This Week show. It rolls out tomorrow morning. I'm going to come down and meet the mayor, man.
All right.
I'll be there with you in the Wisconsin Avenue studios. I'll respectfully stand aside, let you do the interviews. We'll take some photos. We'll have a good time. The inaugural edition, the first big radio product ever to come out of Waukesha. And real quick, Don, Don Brown, appreciate you joining us. I want to thank my other fine guest today. Well, he was Tom Nelson. He was Outagamie County executive. He is a U.S. senatorial candidate. Jeffrey Krames, the Joe Biden way. We'll try to book him back sometime soon. Don't know what happened to Jeffrey. He's a no-show, man. I hate that. At least you showed up, Don. That makes it all worthwhile. Hope you have a great show tomorrow. Can't wait to be part of the Waukesha community.
Same here. Thanks, Mike. We'll see you. Looking forward to seeing you and the rest of our friends and new friends tomorrow morning at 10.
I'll see you on the Shaw 101 FM in Waukesha. Have a great night.
Okay. Hey, you too. Thanks, Mike. All right.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to it.
You're on the
Sounds great.